Welcome back. This will be the third video in like blocks. I promised to do one with blocks and attributes, and so here it goes. You can see that I've got a drawing up on screen right now, and it's basically it comprises of four blocks. I've got the chair, the telephone, and the desk directly from one of the sample files that we were looking at the other day. I think it's like office furnishings or something. But I got them directly from that. And the computer that I also had with it was so antiquated. I swear that thing must have been drawn in the 70s. It was like a big old box, a bit like a Volvo car from the 70s. It was just one big, huge square CRT screen, and yeah, it's horrible. So I ended up drawing that one myself, just with lines and rectangles, and it looks like a fair representation of a screen, a keyboard, and a mouse. So that's your computer. Now, like I said, if I go to insert, those blocks will still be there, so I could insert them in other places. But you can see all four of those things are blocks. Now, I did say that I would show you how to create a block. It is extremely simple. We just use our normal drawing commands. So let me make a small roll under filing cabinet that this person can put their files in. I'm just going to do a very small offset so that I end up doing a like a wooden box. And then I'm just going to put a line across for a divider. Let me just hit the midpoint and then just pull that across and snap it on that edge and call it good. So that would be our little filing cabinet. It's just an open topped file on rollers, basically. You just push underneath the desk when not in use. So I've got to turn that into a block now because everything else is a block and that's just lines and rectangles. So I'm going to hit create and it's going to come up with a block definition. Now I'm going to call that one filing so I can identify it. And I'm going to pick a base point of one of these lower corners so I could line it up with stuff. And then I'm going to specify the objects by picking that button there, coming round, making sure I get most of it. As I'm green, it should just all go, which it does. And then do a right hand click and you can see a picture of my little filing box right there. And then I just say OK. Now, if I go up and look at the insert now, I should now have, which I do, 5 items, including the filing cabinet, the phone, the desk, the chair, and the desk computer. So I'll just shut that one back down. So that is how simple it is to make a block. Now, why would I make it? Well, could you imagine drawing the computer or the chair or even the desk come to that over and over and over again without being able to do anything with it? Now, I could copy it and bring it over and just lay everything out. But what if I wanted them in a different place? What if I wanted to make that a double wide rather than a single wide? With a block, you can actually put whatever scale, X and Y, that you want. So you can actually make a bolt longer, or you can make a chair wider, or you can make the whole thing bigger, right? Which is not what you can do with a copy command. You'd have to do other commands with it. But blocks are pretty flexible. You can even edit blocks, change the point at which you pick them up by or drop them down by and stuff like that. Okay, so that's the blocks. We got all these blocks there. So what's happening with this? I mean, it's just a bunch of blocks we can put together. Well, I can actually make this into one giant block and then be able to do like more advanced layouts and things. And I don't know whether you've ever seen one of these places, but have you ever seen a call center or a telemarketer's room? I mean, that is literally what you've got, a load of cubicles. There is a desk and a chair in each, a telephone on the desk for contacting people, and a computer. And that's it. And there are tons of them, 80 in a room sometimes. This one's got quite a few just from what you can see there. So imagine if I'm going to lay this thing down, I could literally hit the array command and do a rectangular array and put these things all spread out across the room and fill the room up. Um, or I could literally use these to gather data at the same time. Because wouldn't someone want to know all the people that's working in that room and where they sit? Wouldn't they want to know whereabouts or what telephone number a particular person has? Or what computer or serial number for the computer, or what they're running? Was it Windows 10, Windows 11, or whatever for upgrades? Would they want to know that information? Or maybe the serial number for the computer if they're doing an inventory? Yeah, someone probably will. And unless you want to go around and gather that information one computer terminal at a time, wouldn't it be nice to just export the data that's in that drawing attached to it that you can't even see, but you've entered it when you created the drawing? Yeah. So one of the first things I can do, and I could go up to here under blocks and look at that little pop down. You can see that I've got another bunch of options underneath this block area, and that is one that I would use, which is define attributes. Okay, that enables you to put data and attach it, store it in a block. But rather than use that and have to keep on going down to that little pop down, let me go to insert, because this is a far better um, ribbon for looking at blocks, block definitions, reference, imports, data, and extraction. You can extract data, which we will do at the end. So let's create something, and there's that tag again that we saw in that little drop down. I'm going to create an attribute. I'm going to look at defining an attribute. So the attribute I want to put against this chair is the name. So I'm just going to call it name, and that would be the tag. And when it gets dropped on the screen, I want it to say enter name. And by default, I'm going to say the most common name in that room is empty because no one's sitting there. There's none, all right? Um, Basically, I'm going to keep it invisible because I don't want that thing to show up. It will just leave a load of mess all over the drawing. I don't need it to be constant. Everybody's got different names. I think once I've entered it or been asked to enter it, I don't need to verify it. And it won't be a case of presetting anything, right? So I'm going to leave it as it is. I've put it as a 3-inch high piece of text, but it's quite a large item. So I think we'll be okay with that. I'm just going to say okay, and I'm going to drop it down by the side of the chair. That would then give me the option, once I've put this piece into the drawing, of entering the name of the person that's going to be sitting at that particular chair. Or at least there will be something there I could enter that data into. Another one that I could put on there, I guess, if I'm just going to put a couple of fields on to show you, I could define another attribute. And this one will be to do with the phone. I'm just going to call this one phone, and then put in a prompt. Just enter number, and the default again, I don't know, none, I guess. That would be the common thing. I'm not going to leave it at that. I'll put something in there. And I'm going to leave that again on invisible. But I can drop that by the side there. I could put a serial number down there, like I said. I could put the type of operating system they've got, or any other data that you need to have on that little block. But let's just call it good there. And I'm going to now turn that into a block. Now, the create block is there. It's going to bring me up that box again. I'm going to call this thing a cell. C-E-L-L. So that's going to be a cell for a call center. And I'm going to pick it up by one corner, which is where I'm going to line it up if I put it into the drawing. And then I'm going to select all of the blocks that I created, plus the attributes. Okay. And then I'm going to right click. And you can see the whole thing plus the 2 words is up there in the block definition. Once I've done that, I can say OK. Now, if I go back into the insert area, you can now see I've got cell up there as well, and I can drop that thing down. And if I drop that thing in, it will start asking me questions like what's the cell number, what's the name of the person sitting there. So I could do a couple of those and then we can do an extraction, and I can just show you from there really. If I grab that and put one there, it's going to ask me to enter a number and enter a name. Well, I'm from Idaho, so it's 208 562 1122. And the enter the name, I'm just wondering what I should put down there now. Mr. Tom Jones. I don't think he'd come and work for us, but there you go. And just say OK. Now you're not going to see those two bits of information down there because we looked at making them invisible. But let me do another one. So I'm going to insert another one, another cell. I'm going to drop it down below there. And then I can say that the number on that one will be 208 562 3344. And this one will be Miss Sarah Jones. I wonder if they're related. Anyway, you get the general idea. I've now put two desks down there. All of the drawing's been done. They've come in as a block, so it's fast to do it. You can imagine me doing a layout of lots of these tables very quickly and putting data down on the drawing. Okay, so about what we were talking about. We're looking at extracting some of the data that I put in on this drawing. Imagine I'd filled out the whole drawing with 80 seats with all of the names and the numbers and the computer information and everything else that I wanted to put on that drawing. You can't see it, it just looks like a well laid out drawing, but the data is there and you can extract it. So imagine I hit extract data. And you can see I'll create a new data extraction. Yes, so I'm just going to hit next. I think I tried one of these before. And I'll just say, yeah, we'll replace it. And then just say next on that. And yeah, I've got lots of information there. I don't want some of this stuff. I do want the cell because that's the thing that we've just been working on. So I'm just going to make sure I take everything out. Just leave the cell in there. That's the only info I want. I also don't really want any of these categories. Drawing, general, geometry. Oh, I do want attributes. So I'll put that back in there and miscellaneous. So that's the only stuff that I've got coming out. And I'll hit next. And that's it, right? These cells or these units contain these two people, those phone numbers, and any other information that's part of that little unit. Now, we can send this into a database. And you could play around with the database and you get all the information from the drawing without it even being visible. So that is a pretty cool feature to have. And yeah, if I just hit next on that, we can look at put it into a table, or we can output the data in the form of an XLS, which is an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so yeah, I'll just take that one out. Do we want to quit? Yes, we do. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it put a little bit more sense into what an attribute is and how powerful it could be if you used it right. Obviously, they're not required on every drawing, but if you do want to use it like a way of gathering information, could you imagine putting an attribute on the side of an object that you're doing an assembly on and being able to strip out the parts list? Pretty cool, right? So anyway, I'll leave it there, and we can always pick this up and do some more on blocks and attributes later. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.